We've been together for 5 years. I'm 7 months pregnant and hate how my husband hates me. When I got pregnant, I was so excited. Obviously, the first thing about bringing our baby into this world, but also growing closer to my partner and bonding over pregnancy. My husband lost his best friend to an accident when I was just a few weeks pregnant, and he is still grieving as they were neighbors. He was his best man and always hung out on weekends. His wife moved back to her hometown, and my husband has turned a blind eye to his own wife. I was so looking forward to my partner rubbing my belly, massaging my foot, making my favorite food, taking me to places like husbands do for their pregnant wives. I know that this makes me sound horrible, and I try not to ask too much of my husband, but that doesn't stop the longing for these things. I tried expressing my cravings to him, but he always manages to ignore it and told me this feeling will pass. It unalives me from inside, and my soul dries up when my friends tell me how their husbands drove around for 40 minutes just to get a slice of pastry that they were craving at that moment, or how their husbands gave them grace whenever they were feeling particularly snippy. Whenever I have a hormonal breakdown, my husband tells me to get my shoot together. It makes me feel like a burden. Initially, I did communicate to him of my expectations in this pregnancy. This happened right before the pregnancy and during the first weeks when he showed me he cared. After he lost his friend, I didn't expect him to bounce back immediately. However, I did start communicating that he gets me my favorite takeout while coming home from the office. But he ignored this entirely. I even tried to have a heart-to-heart with him about how I feel neglected and wanted more from him. But he was not very happy or receptive about it. I feel he is not being a good listener. It feels like I am talking to a brick wall, so the communication and advice is really not helping me. He is in grief therapy, but it's not very consistent. Regarding how I support my husband, because I can anticipate a lot of fingers pointing at me for that too. I was present and I am still present in any way he wants me to. I got him into grief counseling. I do extend my support, but that's really not relevant, and I'd stay away from inviting any judgment that questions that. It absolutely breaks my heart when he cries at night, but he will push me away when I try to hug him. But I try not to take this personally, but as a pregnant wife, I feel a lot of things myself too. My body is constantly changing and I get aches on my back, and I would have loved for my husband to give me a warm bath, or even just call me beautiful and pretty because I'm feeling unattractive, and I am sacrificing my body to give him a child. He doesn't show up for appointments or want anything to do with the baby shower I wanted to plan, but didn't end up doing because of him. I'll always remember the day I ran up to him barefoot as I got a package in the mail that was supposed to reveal the gender of our child. This baby is a girl, and I was so excited, but he dashed my spirits saying, "Why is it such a big deal? There are only 2 genders babies can be, and to stop being so over the top." I cried silently in the bathroom that night. I get my own food to satisfy my cravings now. I have paid for grocery delivery services because driving sucks. However, my food always goes missing because my husband has been eating it out of his own emotional pain. It makes me feel so freaking angry, but I can't say anything to him because when I did the past few times requesting he not eat my food, he says to stop turning food into war. And then I feel like self-loathing again. I feel like I can't do anything about this. My feet feel swollen and I've been wanting foot rubs so bad, and I know my husband won't entertain me at all. He doesn't even look at me and almost feels like he resents me. I am just grieving that I'll never have a memorable pregnancy, and these 9 months won't be the time I'll look back over fondly. My husband makes me feel like I'm some sort of a needy monster. I hate myself. Mama's here. Do you think this is an acceptable thing? How do I get my husband to care about me? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm going to try to be as easy as I possibly can about this because your hormones are wonky and I don't want you to get too emotional. Your requests are valid. You are doing a good job as a partner and as a mother. You have needs, and unfortunately, your husband is not meeting them. He's not even trying. There's an old saying, when they show you who they are, believe them. He has shown you what kind of father he will be. If he cannot give you the bare minimum support while you carry his child, he won't willingly support you or your child postpartum. I'm not a huge fan of ultimatums, but your post has made it clear that you have done everything short of leaving to get him to make an effort. It's ultimatum time. Either he goes to individual therapy and starts to make a genuine effort, or he will not be a part of your daughter's life. He will not be in the delivery room. You two will go somewhere else upon discharge from the hospital, and you will serve him divorce papers as your push present. It's time to stand up for yourself and your daughter. Comment 2. I don't know if you can get him to listen. It seems like he doesn't care. I would recommend planning an exit strategy. The father of my children acted similarly. When we went for the first ultrasound at 20 weeks, I was so excited for us to find out the gender together. He made me drive while he slept. It was an area I wasn't familiar with, and I got lost. I had to wake him to help me find the place. When I finally found the place, he refused to go in with me. He chose to sit in the waiting room, and I went back for the ultrasound, feeling defeated and deflated. The ultrasound showed that I was having twins. I walked out to the waiting room, so excited to tell him, and all he said was, "What?" It never got better. I stayed with my parents the first 2 weeks after my sons were born, which made him angry. I was hopeful he would be helpful once we came home, but of course he wasn't. When my sons were 3 months old, I left him. Unfortunately, he was never the person I wished he would be. I'm sorry that you're going through this. Now for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I'm here to give you an update on the situation with my husband during my pregnancy. I wish I could say things have improved, but buckle up because this ride has been anything but smooth. 2 weeks ago, I was hopeful that my husband's grief therapy would start to make a difference. Not just for him, but for us as a couple. We've been together for 5 years, and I've seen him at his best and worst, but nothing prepared me for the coldness that followed his best friend's tragic accident. I've been trying to be understanding, but my pregnancy has been a lonely journey. I remember when we first found out we were expecting, before the accident, he was over the moon. He'd talked to my belly, already bonding with our little girl. But that feels like a lifetime ago now. His friend's death hit him like a ton of bricks, and it's like I became invisible overnight. Just last week, I tried to reach out to him again. I made his favorite dinner, hoping it might spark a moment of connection between us. But when he came home, he barely acknowledged the meal. Instead, he went straight to the fridge and ate the chocolate cake I had been saving for myself. When I confronted him, he just shrugged and said he needed it more than I did. My heart sank. It was the same cake I craved during my first trimester, the one he used to drive across town to get for me. The next day, I found him sitting in the nursery, surrounded by baby things we'd bought together before his friend's accident. He was holding a tiny onesie, tears streaming down his face. I reached out to comfort him, but he pushed me away, saying he couldn't deal with both the loss and the pressure of becoming a father. It was the first time he'd even acknowledged our baby in months. I've been trying to keep it together, attending prenatal appointments alone, and dealing with the backaches and swollen feet without his support. I've even stopped asking for foot rubs, knowing he won't give them. But the loneliness is crushing. I miss the man who used to tell me I was beautiful, even on my worst days. Then, something unexpected happened. I was at a prenatal yoga class when I ran into his late friend's wife. She had come back to town for a few days to sort out some remaining affairs. We ended up having coffee together, and she confided in me that she was struggling too. She missed her husband terribly, but she also missed the friendship we all shared. We cried together, sharing our pain and our memories. That encounter seemed to be a turning point for my husband. When I told him about it, I saw a flicker of the man I married. He hugged me for the first time in months and apologized for being so distant. It felt like a breakthrough, and for a moment I thought we might finally start to heal together. But the next day, he was back to his old ways, ignoring me and our baby. It was like the emotional connection we'd shared was just too much for him to handle. I was left feeling more alone than ever. I've started to lean on my friends for support, sharing my struggles and finding solace in their company. They've been my lifeline, helping me with the baby shower that my husband wanted no part of. It was a bittersweet celebration, filled with love from my friends, but shadowed by his absence. Just yesterday, I found a letter he'd written, but never given to me. It was dated back to the day he found out about his friend's accident. In it, he poured out his heart, expressing his fear of not being able to be the husband or father he wanted to be while drowning in his grief. It was a raw and honest glimpse into his pain, and it made me realize how much he was struggling. I'm now 7 months pregnant, and I'm coming to terms with the fact that my husband may not be the partner I need him to be right now. It's a hard pill to swallow, but I'm focusing on preparing for our daughter's arrival, with or without his support. As for my husband, I can see he's trying in his own way, but the grief is still a barrier between us. I'm holding on to hope that one day we'll find our way back to each other, but for now, I'm bracing myself for the possibility of facing motherhood on my own. My friend's husband makes a move on me, and I tell mine who loses job prospect over it. But when I find out the creep's cheating, I make sure his wife knows the truth too. This is my first time posting on Reddit, so bear with me. My husband Justin, who is 34 years old, fake name. And I, who am 29 years old, fake name, have 2 young children, a 2-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl. Let's call his friend Jack, fake name. He has a wife, Alicia, fake name, and 2 children, a 9-year-old boy and a 7-year-old boy. We have known them for about 3 years. This happened last night, and I'm so confused. It's going to be a bit of a long one. We went over to Jack's house for a few drinks. Normally, we all have a good time. Alicia and I are friends and often chat while the boys are catching up. It was very late, and I kept trying to get Justin to go home. But they were discussing our neighbor, who we've had a few issues with, and wanted to try to sort it out before we left. I put my foot down and said, "Both our kids have fallen asleep. I'm taking them home." Jack ended up coming back to our house while his wife went to bed. Justin promised to drop Jack back home later that night. We got home and I got my kids settled in bed. About 3 a.m., I said it's enough. Justin has work in a few hours, time for Jack to go home. Thankfully, Justin had stopped drinking, but Jack had continued. Jack was very drunk. Justin went to drive Jack home, but Jack refused, saying that Justin had been drinking and he wouldn't be okay to drive. Jack insisted I drive him home. I thought nothing of it. All the times we've been around, he seemed like an honest family man. I never saw any signs that he was a creep. I had a 20-minute drive to his house. Within 5 minutes of being in the car, he pats my thigh. I told him to keep his hands to himself, and he made a joke out of it. I told him that I have boundaries, and I was just expressing that. The car was quiet for a few minutes. I was uncomfortable. Unfortunately, it doesn't end there. He starts saying that we should have intimacy, that he's checked out my breasts and he wants to have intimacy with me, that no one has to know. I told him that was enough and not going to happen. Then he starts trying to rub my thighs. I'm pushing his hands away, telling him to knock it off. When I had to stop at a traffic light, he used that opportunity to grab a handful of hair on the back of my head to turn my face to try to kiss me. I managed to avoid it and push his face away. I told him if he won't keep his hands to himself, he can get out the car. A few other times, he tries to run his hands through my hair and touch my thighs, all while he's still telling me to pull over so we can have intimacy, that no one will know. He told me it was deliberate, insisting that I drive him home so that we would be alone and could have intimacy, that he just wants me and he gets what he wants, not to drop him home just to keep driving to somewhere so we can have intimacy. I ignored it all, dropped him home, and told him it will never happen. I'm desperate. I want to tell Justin how Jack was behaving with me. I just wished it never happened. It's going to hurt Justin and Alicia. The only reason I'm hesitating is because Jack is getting Justin in at his work. Justin works crazy long hours to support our family, as I make very little money after paying for childcare fees. I desperately want this for Justin. He currently works 14 plus hours a day, 6 days a week. This new job would almost double his income and involve fewer hours. Justin doesn't complain because he's doing it for our family, but I know he struggles missing out on so much time with the kids. I know Justin will be furious with Jack and they won't speak anymore. It will more than likely cost him this employment opportunity, which Justin was really excited for. I feel sick. I need to tell Justin I just don't want to cost him this employment opportunity. I never thought anything like this would ever happen. It seems so out of character for Jack. but now I'm doubting whether I even knew him at all. By the time I got home, Justin was asleep, and he got up late for work, so rushed out of the house without time to talk. How do I tell him? What if telling him costs him this job and he resents me for it? Please, I desperately need some advice. Update: I told my husband. He reacted violently. I can't go into too many details. I guess I never really knew the real person my husband was. Unfortunately, I found out the hard way. I'm in the process of moving. My kids and I are safe for now. I will heal and do everything to keep my baby safe. Thanks for everyone's encouragement. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Honestly, he is an intimacy predator, and he was sexually assaulting you. He did this now precisely because he knows your husband wants this job, and that puts you in a vulnerable position. He did it in the car because there was no place for you to run. This man is dangerous, and no job or amount of money justifies maintaining any type of friendship with him. You need to tell your husband immediately, and then you need to cut him off from your life. Comment 2. Oh boy. I wish I couldn't say, I know exactly how you feel, but I do know exactly how you feel. Tell Justin immediately. Job opportunities will always come and go, but fostering trust in a relationship through open, honest communication is difficult and absolutely should be your main point of focus here. Remember that trust can take a lifetime to build, but only a moment to destroy. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments and advice on my last post. I really appreciated the support and it helped me make some tough decisions. Here's what's been going on since then. After the last incident with Jack, things got even more complicated. I was torn about telling Justin because of the job opportunity, but I couldn't keep it to myself. I decided to tell him everything. Justin was shocked and angry, not at me, but at Jack. He confronted Jack the next day, and let's just say it didn't go well. They got into a huge argument, and Jack denied everything. He even tried to twist the story, saying I was the one coming on to him. It was a mess. Justin didn't get the job at Jack's company. He was devastated, but he said he couldn't work with someone like Jack after what happened. We both agreed it was for the best, even though it meant more long hours for Justin at his current job. It's been tough on our family, but we're getting through it. Now, here's where things get really crazy. Alicia, Jack's wife, came over a few days after the confrontation. She was furious, not with me, but with Justin. She accused him of trying to ruin their family and said that Jack would never do something like that. I was shocked. I thought she would understand, but she didn't believe me. She even accused me of making it all up because I was jealous of their life. It hurt, but I knew the truth. A few nights later, I caught Justin texting someone late at night. I asked him who it was, and he said it was just a coworker, but something didn't feel right. I remembered how he used to be so open with his phone, and now he was being secretive. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Then, one day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was a woman, and she was crying. She said she was Jack's other woman, and that she had been seeing him for months. She found out about what happened with me and felt guilty. She told me she was sorry and that Jack had lied to her too, saying he was separated from Alicia. I was stunned. I didn't know what to believe. I confronted Jack about it, and he finally broke down and admitted to everything. He said he was sorry and that he never meant to hurt anyone. He begged me not to tell Alicia, but I said I couldn't make any promises. It was a lot to process, and I felt like I was in the middle of a soap opera. Now here's the misunderstanding. When I told Justin about the other woman, he thought I meant that I was the other woman. He got furious and wouldn't listen to me. It took hours to calm him down and explain that it was Jack who had been cheating, not me. Justin felt terrible for not believing me at first, and we had a long talk about trust and communication. Things have been tense since then. Alicia knows about the affair now, and she's not speaking to either of us. Jack has been trying to make amends, but I don't think things will ever be the same. Justin and I are working on our relationship, and we're trying to move past all of this. It's been a rough couple of weeks, but we're getting through it together. My boyfriend spends Valentine's Day at a bar with another girl and tells me they're just friends. But his black eye and her secret texts tell a different story. and now trust is shattered. My boyfriend currently is not living with me. He is staying with his mother about 4 hours away because he is about to start working. Works on the road, so right now we are doing long distance. Yesterday was Valentine's Day, which doubles up as our anniversary for when we made it official. I was pretty sad that we couldn't spend it together, but he is coming out on Friday and we can spend the weekend together. He and I barely talked yesterday, excluding the fight we had. We probably spoke for about 2 minutes on the phone and only texted once to say good morning, plus happy Valentine's Day. No communication on our anniversary. He called me at like 8 p.m. and I was excited thinking, finally, here's our call for the day. But instead, he is in someone's car on the way to the bar. He told me he was going to the bar with this girl I guess he has been hanging out with every night. That she and her boyfriend got in a fight today, so he took her out for dinner to cheer her up. And now they are going to the bar because she is going to try and pick someone up to get laid. I got pissed immediately. I was basically ignored all day on Valentine's Day so that he could take some other chick out on a date. I hung up and he and I bickered over text for a bit, and basically, his defense for this was, her and I aren't even sexually compatible. I told you because I wanted to be honest. If I was cheating, I would have lied to you. I'm really upset, to the point I'm not sure if I want him coming here anymore. He's making me feel like I'm crazy for being upset, because I know nothing happened, but it still feels inappropriate to me. I honestly never get like this, but I don't even think I feel comfortable with him hanging out with this person anymore. Is what he did inappropriate, or am I possibly just being too sensitive? Would it be silly to tell him to cancel the trip to see me over this? I'm mad now, but this would be the only time I can see him for months. Update. So, I have spoken with him. He agrees that the situation wasn't very ideal and apologized for how yesterday went. And I have to admit, I made this post in a very bad headspace, and I have very black-white thinking. Because I was upset when I posted this, I made it sound worse than it was. He isn't cheating on me. I have no reason to believe he is. This woman isn't someone he hangs out with every night. It's someone he sees at the same bar every time he goes. They aren't close at all. He did kind of say that originally too, but I processed it differently. It's also more my fault than his that we didn't speak all day. I've been dealing with a depressive episode and I slept most of the day yesterday. Like 2:08 and then 8:30 today. He woke up around 2. We said happy Valentine's Day to each other, then I passed out. He tried to call me around 7, but I didn't answer because I was sleeping. That one is on me. I was just upset it happened. So I blamed him for it. They didn't really go on a date. She had left the bar and walked to the restaurant. They are across the street, crying as her and her boyfriend got into a fight. My boyfriend was about to go into the restaurant at the same time, and so he asked her what was wrong. They had dinner together, so she could vent. She then drove to drop her car off at her house so they could walk to the bar together. I have life tea, and I know he was only there for like 10 minutes. My boyfriend agrees that her trying to sleep with someone else after the woman and her boyfriend got into a fight was not okay. And she wound up calling her boyfriend as soon as they got there. My boyfriend called me, sent the selfie, and all this because I have trust issues. And he was trying to keep me in the loop, so I wasn't watching his location and panicking. And that stupid sexually compatible thing is just what he says about anyone he isn't sexually attracted to. It's so annoying, but that's literally what he means by it. And I do know that. I just hate hearing it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, it's the her and I aren't even sexually compatible comment that got me. How does he know that? Did they date in the past? I have platonic female friends and I have zero idea if we are sexually compatible or not, because it's such a non-statement in my opinion. Comment 2. Yikes, definitely not okay. They're also hanging out every night. I don't know, girl. She either doesn't actually have a boyfriend or they're both messing around behind their partners' backs. He doesn't sound considerate or trustworthy to me. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and I've got some updates for you. So, after the whole Valentine's Day debacle, my boyfriend and I had a long talk. He apologized for the way things went down, and I realized I might have been a bit harsh in my initial reaction. I was in a bad headspace, dealing with a depressive episode, and I slept through most of the day, which is why we didn't talk much. He did try to call me, but I missed it because I was asleep. Now here's where things get really interesting. Remember the girl he was with on Valentine's Day? Well, it turns out she's been causing more trouble than I thought. My boyfriend told me they weren't close, but I found out they've been seeing each other at the bar more often than he let on. And it's not just friendly banter. She's been leaning on him a lot since her fight with her boyfriend. But wait, it gets juicier. I found out that her boyfriend is actually an old friend of my boyfriend's. They used to work together, and there's some history there that I didn't know about. Apparently, my boyfriend and this guy had a falling out a while back over a work project that went south. They hadn't spoken in months, and now my boyfriend is hanging out with his ex-friend's girlfriend? It felt like a betrayal. I confronted my boyfriend about it, and he tried to brush it off as nothing. But I could tell there was more to the story. He finally admitted that he felt caught in the middle because this girl was coming to him for support, and he didn't want to turn her away. But he also didn't want to get involved in their drama. The whole situation made me uncomfortable. I mean, why was he getting so entangled with someone else's relationship issues? And on our anniversary, no less? It didn't sit right with me. Then, just when I thought that things couldn't get more complicated, I found out that the girl had been texting my boyfriend behind her own boyfriend's back. And not just friendly texts. These were flirty, crossing the line kind of messages. My boyfriend showed me the texts, saying he didn't encourage it, but he hadn't exactly shut it down either. I was livid. Here I was trying to trust him, and he was getting these texts from another woman? It felt like a slap in the face. We had another huge argument, and I told him I didn't know if I could handle this anymore. But the real kicker came when I found out that the girl's boyfriend had found out about the texts. He confronted my boyfriend, and they had a huge blowout. Words were exchanged and it got pretty heated. My boyfriend came home with a black eye, and that's when I knew this had gone too far. I was torn. On one hand, I was angry at my boyfriend for getting involved in this mess. On the other hand, I felt bad for him because he was just trying to be a good guy and ended up getting hurt. We're still trying to work through everything. My boyfriend has promised to cut ties with the girl and focus on our relationship, but trust is a fragile thing, and I'm not sure how to feel about all of this. It's been a whirlwind of emotions, and I'm just trying to take things one day at a time. I never expected our relationship to be tested like this, especially with him being away and about to start working on the road. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.